Welcome to Books in 10. We summarize the world's most influential books and hopefully inspire you to check out the full versions.
I'm excited to be here.
Today we're diving into Plato's Dialogues, Volume 1,
Sounds good.
specifically focusing on the ideas of justice, virtue, and knowledge. And guess what?
What's that?
We are giving away an iPhone when we hit 10,000 subscribers, so make sure to like and subscribe. All right, let's get into it. What's amazing about these dialogues is that they were written over 2,000 years ago,
Yeah,
but they still feel super relevant today.
it's true. Plato grapples with these, essential questions about, how to live a good life and what it even means to know something. I mean, don't you ever wonder about that? What does it mean to actually know something?
Yeah, for sure. And it's not just like he's lecturing us about it. He
Mhm.
uses these really dynamic conversations, almost like little plays, to bring these big ideas to life.
It's true. He creates these, intellectual battles, and Socrates is often right in the middle of it all, kind of challenging everyone's assumptions and making them think more deeply.
Yeah, like in the dialogue with Charmides about temperance.
Oh, yeah, that's a great example.
Yeah, Charmides like, oh, temperance is just being quiet and chill.
Right.
But Socrates, he's like, well, hold on a sec. What about when you need to be quick and agile? Like if you're a musician or an athlete, isn't that a virtue too?
Exactly. Plato is showing us that temperance is more than just following one rule all the time.
Yeah.
It's about using your brain to figure out the right balance in different situations.
So it's not about just being, shy and quiet. It's about choosing when to act and when to, hold back. I like that. It reminds me of that saying, speak softly and carry a big stick.
Maybe Teddy Roosevelt was a Platonist.
Maybe, right?
Yeah.
But I think what Plato's really getting at is that we should think critically about everything.
Yeah.
We should question our assumptions and look deeper into, what these virtues actually mean. We can't just accept the easy answers.
Right.
And that leads to another big idea in the book. What is knowledge?
Right.
When I read the analogy about the science with no subject matter,
Yeah.
I was blown away.
I love that one.
Yeah.
Plato loves to use these kind of absurd examples to show us when we're thinking wrong. It's basically saying, imagine a doctor who doesn't know anything about the body. It's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
But it shows us that true knowledge isn't just about collecting random facts.
Yeah.
It's about understanding how those facts connect to, a deeper meaning.
Yeah. I could know, every stat about my favorite athlete,
Right.
but that wouldn't mean that I actually understand, their sport or what makes them such a great athlete.
Yeah. Exactly. And he goes on to use this great example about a wise man and a doctor. Okay, so imagine you're sick.
Right.
Would you rather go to a doctor who knows a ton of medical facts but can't apply them? Or a wise doctor who really understands the body and can use their knowledge to, actually heal you?
Yeah, I think I'd go for the wise doctor every time.
Right. So true knowledge is more than just showing off facts.
Right.
It's about having a deep grasp of, the subject and then actually knowing how to use it.
And that's why he keeps coming back to dialogue. He thought that by talking through different ideas, we can understand things better and get closer to the truth.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like when you have a really great conversation,
Uh-huh.
and even if you don't agree with everything that the other person says, you still walk away with a new perspective.
Absolutely. For Plato, dialogue was a kind of mental sparring. It's where you test out ideas, challenge your assumptions, and knowledge is forged through debate.
I love that. Knowledge is forged in debate. It's not just passively taking in information, it's actively wrestling with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why these dialogues are still so interesting to read today. He's inviting us into the conversation, to see if our own ideas can hold up against Socrates and the other characters.
Right. And that's what makes them so timeless. He's not giving us the answers. He's giving us a framework for how to think, how to question things, and, keep learning throughout our lives.
Okay, so we've got these amazing dialogues, super sharp insights into human nature, and a challenge to think for ourselves. What else is packed into Volume 1? Because I feel like we're just getting started.
There's a lot more. We haven't even gotten into the way these dialogues are structured, or how Plato uses characters like Protagoras and Euthydemus to represent totally different philosophical viewpoints.
Right.
Or how he describes these gatherings around Socrates, just brimming with intellectual energy.
Yeah, it's like we're getting a glimpse into the intellectual life in Athens back then, surrounded by all these amazing thinkers.
It's pretty cool.
All right, well, let's keep this deep dive going.
Sounds good. Welcome back to our deep dive into Plato's dialogues.
All right, so we were just talking about how Plato uses dialogue to, make us think critically and challenge our assumptions.
Yeah.
But let's look closer at, like, the actual structure of the dialogues themselves.
Okay.
Because it's not just what they're talking about, it's like how they're having these conversations.
Yeah, totally. It's like he's setting up like a dance, a dance of ideas.
Right, with different voices, like coming in and out, arguing with each other.
Yeah, and he brings in these characters who have completely different points of view.
Yeah.
Like, Protagoras, he was a famous sophist,
Oh, yeah.
known for being like super persuasive.
Uh-huh.
And then there's Euthydemus, who uses all these like word games and logic tricks to try to like outsmart Socrates.
Okay, wait. Back up a sec. Who are the sophists again? I'm getting lost with all these, like, brilliant minds.
Yeah. Oh, right. Good question. The sophists were they were basically these traveling teachers in ancient Greece,
Okay.
and they were known for being really good at like rhetoric and debate.
So public speaking, basically.
Yeah, exactly. They would like charge people for lessons. But some people thought they were more interested in, winning arguments than actually finding the truth.
So they were kind of like the intellectual rock stars of their day,
Totally.
but maybe not always the deepest thinkers.
All right, exactly.
Kind of like those TV pundits who, like, know how to give a good soundbite, but don't really back it up.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And a lot of times Plato, through Socrates, is using these dialogues to like critique the sophists' ideas about knowledge and virtue.
Okay.
He thinks they care more about style than substance, and, he doesn't agree with their views on morality.
So Socrates is, like, taking down these smooth-talking sophists.
Yeah, kind of. He uses his like sharp wit and all these questions to cut through their fancy words and get to like the heart of the matter.
Yeah.
And by doing that, he's showing us like a better way to have a dialogue, one that's actually about trying to find the truth,
Yeah.
and being willing to look at your own beliefs.
Okay, I see. So these dialogues aren't just, like, these abstract philosophical debates.
Right.
They're also, like, teaching us how to think critically, argue well, and even, like, how to deal with people.
Exactly. And one of the things that makes them so fun to read is that he captures like the energy of these encounters.
Yeah.
He paints these pictures of Socrates surrounded by his students and like his rivals,
Right.
having these crazy debates that would go on for hours.
There's that one part where he describes everyone gathering at Callias's house.
Oh yeah, with Alcibiades and Critias and all those sophists.
Yeah, it's like you're right there watching these amazing minds go at it.
I know, right? And it's like this intellectual showdown, all these brilliant people just like throwing ideas around and sparks are flying and the tension builds as Socrates keeps asking them like harder and harder questions.
It's so cool. And what's interesting is that Plato doesn't try to make Socrates look perfect.
Right.
Like sometimes he gets things wrong.
Yeah,
He even gets frustrated.
totally.
And he can be kind of mischievous with his questions, too.
Yeah, he likes to poke and prod.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes him such an interesting character.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's part of Plato's brilliance.
Yeah,
He's not trying to show us Socrates as this, like, perfect sage.
yeah,
Right. He's just a real person trying to figure things out, just like us.
exactly. It reminds us that searching for knowledge is like a journey, not, a destination.
Yeah.
And it's better to take that journey with other people, through dialogue and debate and like being open to changing your mind.
Right. Speaking of changing our minds, let's get back to that idea that knowledge is more than just facts.
Oh, yeah.
Plato was really serious about that, wasn't he?
He was. And those analogies we were talking about before,
Uh-huh.
those are like his best tools to show us that.
Like that one about the science with no subject matter. I've been thinking about that one a lot.
Oh, me too. It really gets you thinking.
Yeah, it makes you think about what you actually understand, not just what you can recite.
Right, exactly. It's like, I could probably tell you the names of all the planets in our solar system,
Yeah.
but do I really get how vast space is?
Or like the laws of physics that make them move.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And Plato would say that without that deeper understanding, knowing the names of the planets is kind of meaningless. Like
Yeah.
having puzzle pieces but not knowing how they fit together.
Okay, now I'm really starting to see what Plato's doing. He's not just giving us information, he's giving us tools for how to think.
Yeah.
Like how to decide what we really know and how to keep looking for deeper meaning.
Exactly. And that's why these dialogues still matter today. They're not just about ancient Greek philosophy. They're about learning and understanding the world around us, and even ourselves.
Okay, so we've got the structure of these dialogues, we've got all the characters, and we've got this focus on, like, dialogue and critical thinking. Is
Mm.
there anything else we should talk about before we move on to Plato's political ideas?
Oh, yeah. One more really important thing.
Okay.
We've been talking about how Plato wants us to question our assumptions and look for deeper understanding, but he doesn't just leave us hanging, lost in a sea of doubt. He also gives us a framework for how to live a good life. And that's where this idea of virtue comes in.
Ah, right, virtue. We talked about that a little bit before with temperance,
Yeah.
but I feel like there's more to say there.
Definitely. For Plato, virtue isn't just about following the rules or being a good person.
Uh,
It's about developing certain character traits that help us live a fulfilling life,
oh.
both as individuals and as a society.
Yeah.
And these traits, they're really connected to knowledge and reason.
Okay, I'm interested. Tell me more about how he connects virtue to knowledge and reason, because, like, at first glance, they seem kind of separate.
Right. That's what's so cool about Plato. He argues that true virtue isn't just, blindly doing what you're told or following traditions.
Yeah.
It's about understanding why those traditions exist, using your judgment to figure out what's truly good and just, and then acting accordingly.
So, like, I know that stealing is wrong,
Yeah,
but real virtue is about understanding why it's wrong, like the harm that it causes,
exactly.
and then choosing not to steal even if no one's watching.
Right. It's about making those principles a part of who you are, not just doing the right thing because you have to. And that's where knowledge and reason come in. Plato believed that the more we understand about ourselves and the world, the better we'll be at making those virtuous choices.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection.
Yeah.
Like, the more I learn about history, the more I understand the effects of injustice
Uh-huh.
and, like, why it's important to fight for what's right.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Or, like, the more I learn about science, the more I appreciate how connected all life is
Yeah,
and how important it is to protect the planet.
those are great examples. And for Plato, this link between knowledge, virtue, and a good life wasn't just like a theory.
Yeah.
He thought it should shape how we organize our societies and how we govern ourselves. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next part of our deep dive. We're going to look at Plato's ideal state.
All right, now we're getting to the political stuff. Philosopher Kings, here we come. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We're talking about Plato's Dialogues, Volume 1, and now we're finally getting to, like, the big picture stuff.
Right, his vision of the ideal state.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. This is where Plato takes everything we've been talking about, knowledge and virtue and justice, and he applies it all to politics.
Yeah, and he doesn't hold back.
Yeah.
Plato's ideal state is pretty radical, even today.
Oh, absolutely. He wants a society that puts wisdom and justice above all else, which leads him to some pretty wild ideas.
Like that whole philosopher king thing. I mean, it sounds amazing to have these wise and virtuous rulers, but, like, how would that even work in real life?
That's the question, isn't it? And Plato knew that finding these philosopher kings would be, incredibly difficult.
Right.
They'd have to have a deep understanding of philosophy and ethics,
Yeah.
but also, a genuine love of knowledge and a commitment to serving the people.
So not your average politician who just wants power and a fancy title.
Exactly. Plato thought those desires were corrupting. He believed that real leaders should want to serve, to guide society towards justice and harmony.
Yeah, I get it. But it still feels like kind of idealistic.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any real-life societies that were actually ruled by philosopher kings?
Well, some people think there might have been certain times in ancient Greece or Rome where rulers were kind of close.
Uh-huh.
But it's hard to say for sure. Even Plato admitted that his ideal state might be more of a goal, something aimed for.
So it's like a thought experiment.
Yeah, kind of.
Like, he's asking us to think about what a truly just and well-run society could look like.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the most valuable things about his political ideas.
Yeah.
He's not giving us a set of instructions for how to build a utopia, but he is making us ask some tough questions about power and justice
Uh-huh.
and the role of government.
And he does it in this, like, really captivating way. There's that one part I loved where he's talking about how cities begin and how they change over time.
Oh, yeah. You mean where he imagines a wise observer watching all these civilizations rise and fall?
Yes. It's mind-blowing to think that so many societies have come and gone, each with their own governments and their own successes and failures.
It's a powerful image, isn't it? It shows us that politics are always changing
Yeah.
and that no form of government is perfect, or immune to problems.
And that's where I think Plato's ideas about virtue become so important.
Yeah, totally.
He's not just thinking about, like, the rules and laws, but also about the character of the people who live under those laws.
Yeah, right. He believed that a truly just society needs more than just wise leaders.
Yeah.
It also needs citizens who are educated and virtuous and who care about the common good.
So it's not enough to just have good laws or even good leaders. You also need a population that understands those values.
Exactly. And that's why Plato thought education was so crucial. He thought it shouldn't just be about, learning facts, but about shaping people's character and instilling a love of wisdom and virtue.
Okay, I see how it all connects now.
Yeah.
Knowledge, virtue, justice. They're
Yeah.
all linked together, both for individuals and for society as a whole.
That's one of the key takeaways from Plato's dialogues, for sure. He's showing us that what happens in our personal lives is connected to what happens in politics. And living a good life isn't just about our own happiness.
Right.
It's also about building a just and flourishing community.
It's a really powerful message, and it's so relevant, I think, to what's happening today.
Absolutely.
We're overwhelmed with information.
Right.
Politics can feel really divisive. And Plato's call for, reasoned debate and critical thinking and a commitment to working together, it seems more important than ever.
I couldn't agree more. And even though his ideal state might never actually exist, it gives us something to strive for.
Yeah.
A world where wisdom and justice win out
Uh,
and where people can live meaningful lives.
so as we wrap up our deep dive into Plato's Dialogues, Volume 1, what's the main thing you want our listeners to remember?
Plato said that the unexamined life is not worth living.
Yeah.
He wanted us to question our assumptions, search for deeper understanding, and try to live a life of virtue and excellence, both for ourselves and for the people around us.
And that message is still so important, even all these centuries later. As we're all trying to figure out, this crazy world we live in, Plato's wisdom can help guide us. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the mind of one of history's greatest thinkers. We hope you'll keep exploring these ideas, keep having those important conversations, and keep diving deep into knowledge and understanding. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, keep on learning.